Are you looking for a podcast where you can hear from real people regarding their real dental drama? If so, then you've come to the right place. Join hosts Bethany Petty and Dr. Rena Kuba as we dive into the solutions we've created and the mistakes we've made while managing dental drama. Let's get started.
Lady, I gotta tell you, you know what I did yesterday?
What?
I printed the June digest.
Yes.
It is so good.
I know.
It is so good. Good job.
I know. I was really I'm proud of every month, but I love the cancellation focus and being able to tackle those cancellations in a strategic way. So it's a good episode for sure.
I just loved how you had the like all the verbiage too. Mm-hmm. I think that's the hardest part. Like it's one thing to say, you know, for your cancellation list, you need to call these people or you need to do this. And I know for me, I'm like, okay, but call and say what? Like what's the right thing to say? And you had all the verbiage points in there. And then, per usual, your team building ideas were fantastic. So
we had some fun with those this time.
Yes. Oh. So good job.
Yes,
so if you haven't, subscribers, if you haven't printed yours out yet and accessed it, don't forget to access. If you're not a subscriber, I don't know what you're doing. So I don't have any words on that. But anyway, today, if we could talk about...
Yes.
Because I know I'm in the thick of it, and so, you know, per usual, this is all about me. So my therapy and my coaching sessions here that I happen to share with everybody, yes. But this is all about me and my needs.
Public therapy.
There you go. Public therapy. It's a new concept. There you go.
Kind of like this idea.
Is that what podcasts are?
Yeah.
Like public. Isn't that what Instagram and social media is?
Oh, maybe.
Honestly, I don't know.
But this is so much deeper.
I guess. So, back to me.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm in the thick of it now because if y'all have been listening to the last couple of episodes, I'm embarking on this like satellite office out of nowhere. Like, again, was not planning anything. And here we are. And I've had some new hires, but they're not new to dentistry. There's several that have been practicing for over 25 years. Practicing meaning being in the dental field. And so very well qualified and well-versed. And trying to figure out how to onboard them. And honestly, even do I hire them as they're applying to the job posting or whatever? Do I even want you? Because are you an old dog that can or can't learn some tricks? I think for me, the other benefit is... back to that same old, should I just pay somebody less and teach them? Yeah. Or do I pay the big dollars and hope the old dog can work in my market and, you know, all of those things. And so I think that's the question anyway. But then now with the satellite, then how am I integrating my current team with the new people? And I don't think anybody so far that we've hired for the new office, there's nobody who's like brand new to dental. But I think just walking that fine line of going, you know, I do want your ideas and I do want your systems and thoughts, because clearly if you've had longevity in the field for this long, you clearly should know, be able to bring a lot of things to the table. But is it going to be a deterrent to the way we do it? Can you adapt? Can we adapt? So I think I'm asking a lot of things packed into that one topic that I'm hoping you can help tease out and maybe make it applicable to everybody listening and not just like the fools like me who've decided to go start another practice. Just why not? Why not?
It's, you know, when you said just kind of fell into it or whatever and had no plan for it, which is true. But fast forward 2 years, and if it's just like this amazing thing that I think it's going to be, you're going to be like, oh no, I planned that. It was...
No, I won't. I stayed true to myself. I didn't even plan my current one. I did not want one.
That's true. And here you are with 2.
With almost 2, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be great. So I think you bring up a very important topic, and I do think it's applicable not only... probably even more so applicable to single offices, but definitely applicable to your particular situation. Bringing a new team member in is always like, you know, I equate it back to like first dates, where you think
haven't been on one of those in a while. Thank
It's
God.
funny because my husband and I were just talking about a date that I went on in college. We were reminiscing on some high school people that we knew, and I ended up going on this date with this guy in college that checked every mark on my book, like everything. And so, but even like going into the date, he hadn't been on my radar. He wasn't somebody that I was even thinking about. I had to kind of remind myself who he was when he reached out for this date. And then once I remembered him, I was like, oh yeah, this is a potential. Yeah, this is going to be good. But wasn't even like leading up to the date, wasn't even like excited or like energetic about it. Just kind of like, yeah, it's a date. And in the date, it felt like, I don't know, it just wasn't, we weren't jiving for whatever reason, even though we had so many similar interests and all of that. And so it's funny, my husband brought this guy back up again. I was like, I had forgotten about him. And I think about this with a lot of new employees that are starting, because they may check all the boxes. And you're like, how can this person not work? Because she's got 25 years in the field. She's great in communication over the phone. She's loves pediatrics. She runs in similar circles. She's going to be a great networker, all this kind of stuff. And then we just never know until they start. We never know how that period of time is going to work with them and your team. So it's really awkward for the new person that's starting, because they too are taking a leap of faith and going, I hope that I can integrate with this team and work well with them. And the team is hoping that this person is the answer to some of the problems that we're having, but there's no way to know it until they come on board. I think there's things that as leaders in the practice that we can do to make that, to try to force some good connection in those early stages of building a relationship with this new employee. But then also we beg the question, like, at what point do we decide that we've given it all we've got and we just don't know anymore? So I think focusing on that initial onboarding and figuring out, how do we get them integrated with our team members? How do we get our team members ready to receive them as an employee? And then they're determining, are they going to be a good fit? But we also they have to have the right mindset to go, give them some time, give them some grace, and all of that. So it's a very complicated,
which is what I'm hoping that we could focus on that part of it for this episode, because I think that's where, I'll be honest, I've been so, like, it's summer schedule, so we've been busy at the office. It's been nice to be busy with a mostly full schedule. Like, we haven't had this for like 2 months now. Yeah. So it's really nice, but we're focused on that. I'm focused on my kids getting out of school and like, what are we doing for childcare and blah, blah, blah. And then I'm focused on now this other practice that literally fell into my lap like 6 weeks ago. So now I'm pausing and I'm going, whoa, wait a minute here. And all of these, like, in the interviewing process, you just never know who's going to accept the job, who's not, who's going to show up to the interview, who's not. And like background checks and employee, what do you call, reference checks, like all of that, and then even if all of that checks out, can we afford them? Can we not? Like, whether it's a newer person, older person, like all of those steps. Yeah. And now we are just about to where we've hired, and I think the onboarding, like, they're all giving their 2 weeks notice, whatever it is. So they're coming, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I haven't even thought about how do I make sure this is a successful integration. Yeah. And so I think that's what I came thinking today, going, okay, we need to talk about this. Mm-hmm. And you kind of mentioned you were having some, it resonated with you because you'd had a couple of drama episodes with clients' offices this week. So
yeah. And it was the theme of, the person that's been there forever and the newer person coming to heads or not communicating well or
that
not.
Was in the office well. You in the witnessed.
Office that I was with. And even, I was lucky enough to be in your practice this week, and one of the new ladies that came on board, you can just feel that it was her first day, being in the practice. And there's just that little bit of like nervous energy from everybody. Like, everybody's just a little nervous on that first day. Like, is what we thought we were getting? Is that what we're getting? Like, we just don't know.
And I'm sure she's thinking the same thing.
And she is too.
Is what I signed up for, what I agreed to sign up for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think it's very nerve-wracking. But I do think there's a few things that practice owners or leaders need to do to give the best chance of that integration going well. So I'm going to throw out my first thing, and then you stop me if I'm not hitting on some things that I think are important. So we do onboarding in most practices. Your office over the years, I feel like, has developed a clearer, cleaner onboarding program. And I view myself as a part of the onboarding program, because once they've kind of made it through all of the ranks that they need to get through, and I'm having a conversation with them, I am talking 100% culture. This is the culture you're stepping into. These are the expectations. This won't fly in the practice. This will fly in the practice, because I view my job in that onboarding process to set the stage for what we expect of them from a culture standpoint.
So can you give even more? Can you go into detail? Like, give me an example or two of things, like, and you can use my office or you can use somebody else's office. Like, what do you tell them specifically? Because I think what we're trying to do, kind of like you said, it was like dating. I think for me, I equated to online dating. And it's like, you put forth this resume with these pictures, not resume, a profile with some pictures. And then, to me, I always was like, well, I'm going to put I'm not going to put my dolled up prom picture, because I can't deliver that every day. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to put some very everyday pictures so that hopefully when you see me live, I either meet or exceed the expectation, but I will be devastated if you're like, oh my God, like, where is she? Like, who are you, ma'am? Like, this is false representation. So I never want to be caught in that boat. Like, even with this, like, I don't want to present my office. Like, clearly I'm biased. There's things that I like about our office, but I think I've tried to figure out, like, from my perspective and from over the years, kind of hearing feedback about the office, what are the things that people are going to struggle with in my practice? And I'd rather share that with you at the outset. And that way, if you're kind of, you come to me 2 months in and you're like, well, this is really a struggle. I told you it was going to be like, right. And so how much of that, which way did you perceive that? But I don't want it to ever be like you were dishonest about that. No, I told you that was going to be a challenge in this practice. So can you give us some very specific examples? Like, what would you say? Like, do this, or this won't fly. You mentioned that. Can you give me a...
So I'll use your practice as an example. It's been some of the freshest examples, but when I'm talking to candidates that are looking to work for you, I let them know I know you have experience in the field. Candidate, we'll call her Sally because we always do. So Sally, I know you've got great experience in the field, but I do want to prepare you that the office that you're stepping into it takes the level that you probably are used to, and it raises the bar way up. Like, we're a high detail office. We are a system office. We like to create really good systems. We dialogue a lot about those systems, and then we like to execute those systems with consistency. So inconsistency or just kind of flying by the seat of your pants doesn't work well. We've spent a lot of time developing systems that we do intend to be followed, and I'm sure you're going to have great ideas. We'll talk about those, but we want you to test out our systems first so that you can get fully integrated in that way. Also, you're stepping into an office that really, really values good communication, particularly good communication with the patients and parents. So if you're really good at assisting, but you're not good at communication, you're going to have to come in and be prepared to invest a lot of time into becoming a better communicator, because you can't just be a good assistant in this office. You have to also be a really good communicator and value that process. Also, don't expect to get here, learn your role, and stay the same. If you're a person that likes just the same, wake up every day, do the same thing, do the same job, like, you're not going to experience that here. And particularly, I say Dr. Kuba is always exposing herself to all kinds of education and information and courses and reading articles. And she's constantly looking for ways to implement good ideas into her practice. So if you're somebody that's like, no, this is just the way I do things and I'm not willing to change that, this is not going to be a good fit for you, because you've got to be willing to kind of grow.
But are there people that would say, no, I don't like to learn new things?
Oh, yeah.
There are people that will say that, or at least weed themselves out. I guess they won't show up for the interview. Okay.
Mm-hmm. They will weed themselves out. What I love about setting that up in the interview process is we've had situations where somebody that we hired for your team did not work out, or we were feeling like they wouldn't work out. And in my conversation with them, I'm like, you remember back to that phone call that we had? You remember how I said, you've got to do this, you've got to be this, you got to be willing to change, you got to be willing to grow, all of that. This is what I'm talking about. And right now you're just wanting to stick with this system that you created, but we have this system that we've asked you to follow. So I've been able to bring up that conversation. So even if that wasn't clear in the interview process, in the onboarding process, it has to be part of what you do to get this person acclimated with your culture. So there can be all the hiring paperwork that you're filling out. There can be the office walkthrough of, let me show you where everything is. This is where you put your purse. This is where you blah, blah, blah. They're going to be all that, and that's a part of the onboarding process. But to me, we also need to be having a conversation about this is what our culture is. This is what makes us who we are. And the doctor has determined that you're the right fit for this culture. So we need to have culture conversations. And I am able to clearly articulate what those culture items are for candidates, but we've talked about culture a lot. I'll reference those in the show notes for today's episode. But culture, if you can't clearly articulate what your culture is and what your expectations are of people on your team, then that's a problem. Because then you're just throwing shots in the dark, hoping that the person that you hired fits in, but you can't even articulate what does fitting in mean on your team. So I think establish your culture and what are the qualities that make an employee successful or unsuccessful. That needs to be communicated in the early days.
Even something as little as, which I never thought about this before, and then I guess honestly, even if I did, I would have shied away from saying it because I didn't want to turn somebody off. But even things like now, what I will say, I'm like, things like not being on time. That doesn't fly in our office. Mm-hmm. Like if you consider 7:06 is just 1 minute late, you're actually 6 minutes late because huddle starts at 7:05, so you should have been here at 7. Those are things that are very important to our office, and if that's something you're going to struggle with, I wouldn't even bother proceeding with this interview process, because I understand you are the Dentrix guru and the verbiage guru, and you can, prep the stainless steel crown if you wanted to, you know what I mean? But that doesn't matter because we're not going to get along as a team and as a culture if you're not here on time. So we value that. We value, that we're setting up for tomorrow before you leave today.
Right. And
I can understand the pros and cons of doing it, not doing it. It doesn't really matter. Here we do it, and we're not going to be open to negotiating that.
Yeah.
So I'll give some real examples like that so that they can start going, okay, like there is, whether you consider it militant or whether you consider it, too high strung or too anal. Yeah, I guess we are.
Right.
But this is what works for us.
And why not set that early on?
Yeah. And I used to shy away from it. And then we end up wasting a lot of time because somebody comes on and then I'm putzing around. Well, yeah, I mean, it is important to be on time, but no, you're right. It was just a minute late. And then the rest of the team is like, what do you mean? I'm just like, well, I don't want to seem like a hard ass about 1 minute. Well, it's not. And I've just come along. I've progressed a lot to now where I just say it. And I'm like, well, this is what's going to make you unsuccessful is if you can't meet these basic things, because this is what's important to the rest of us.
And for that employee to know that early on so that she or he doesn't make that mistake. Because then they're coming back, they're digging themselves out of a hole that they've created with the team because that wasn't clearly spoken. And so you are, even though it may seem militant or too hardcore or whatever, but that person can then decide, can I deliver on that? And if not, I know I'm not going to fit in with this group. So then if they're wanting to start on the right foot, they're abiding by some of those
expectations that you
So
set for
I
them.
don't mean to get us off track here, but I think it is important to discuss here. But if somebody's going, well, this is the person, there's only 2 candidates that have applied for this position, and I'm desperate in need for a front desk, a RDA, whatever it is, how do you answer that?
Which I have, it ebbs and flows on that as far as how many candidates are available, how many are not. But I have always said it is worth the wait. And I know that sounds easier said than done, but to me, the amount of damage that the wrong employee can create on your team is not worth it. I mean, I've had people that have gone without a front desk person for a while because they couldn't find the right person. And I was there going, don't settle, just wait it out. There will be somebody, because I see the result of a bad fit on a team. And it's not just they can interrupt and disturb patient care things, making patients upset and all that. They can disturb your team dynamics. I can't tell you how many times I have a conversation with a team member that's like, by the way, if this person doesn't find her way out real quickly, you're going to lose this one and this one. And I'm like, that's an example of an employee that does not fit. We were desperate, hired somebody, and now we're going to lose 2. We're going to keep the bad one. We were going to lose our 2 good ones, and now what do we do? So it's just not worth. And I know that sounds impossible, but to me, there's plenty of we're cross-training our clinical people to help out at the front for a while, or vice versa. We're helping our sweet Sally at the front to at least flip chairs and run sterilization in the back. We're looking at third-party companies and going, okay, how can I supplement while I don't have a body in the chairs? There's somebody that I could at least outsource to answer my phones. And buy yourself time to find the right person.
So I would say my response would be the same. Like, where I start going, well, yeah, Bethany, as a consultant, that's pie in the sky. Just wait. But what do you want me to do day by day? And I would still echo everything you just said. Because to me, unless you, doc, are willing to change, like suddenly if you're okay, if everybody starts coming in whenever they want to, if that's the case, then yeah, this person's the right one to bring on. But if you have worked hard to establish a culture, and this is the only candidate, you're going to have to figure out how to make it work without that candidate or that position.
Yep.
Because to your point, you're about to undermine and deter everything you've already built. Yeah. So unless you are pie in the sky and you're like, well, I want this and I want that and I want that, and you're the ridiculous one. But if you found people and you know that that's what works for you, you might be like, yeah, I'm the only one on this street. There's 20 practices and I'm the only one who insists my employees get here by 7 a.m. That's okay. Yeah. But that might mean you have to be the one to ebb and flow in a different way. Those other people might be okay with onboarding somebody every 60 days or what I mean? Or they're okay with their patients getting mad because they couldn't start them on time. Or they're okay with telling their patients, well, we can't do your treatment today because I didn't have my assistant show up. Because they're the ones who didn't create and set and stick to their culture. Yeah. So I guess to me, it's unless you were willing to change some things and you're being very realistic about the pros and cons, because everything will have a pro and con to it. So really look at that and go, am I okay? Are my patients always late and maybe they don't care? Are my patients like all retired and they don't care about the time of their appointment and they'll be okay? But if I think you just need to think about why you set that culture to begin with. Is that a you problem? Is that no, this is what works for us, and who is us? Well, for the existing 5 team members I have and myself, okay, then you got to wait. Yeah. You got to wait because you can't let that person come in and disrupt everything. It's just not worth it.
It's not. Wait for the right fit. And when I say the right fit, that doesn't mean the perfect fit. So I still think somebody can be right for the job and still have a few things that, when I go back to that date example, there might be 1 or 2 things that they didn't check the box on, but ultimately, culturally, they're going to fit with your team. They're going to represent you well. And yeah, he or she may not have enough years of experience, or he or she may be brand new to the field. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to invest so much training into this person. Yep. That's a box they didn't check. But they checked everything else. And so that when we say right fit, that doesn't mean perfect fit. They may not be 10 out of 10.
That's a good point as well. Okay, so back to then, like, any tips so I guess the first tip is setting a realistic expectation. I think for us, we usually do, like, you're there to screen the person initially, and we make them come in and see how we do things. And so I think with this particular, with the satellite location, the people that were applying and we were considering hiring, and they were considering us and going, well, maybe, I've been in the field for 20 years. Maybe it's time for me to get out of the field. But, I'm trying this out, whatever it was. And I'm just like, okay, I think for me, most important needs to be, can they integrate with our culture and our team? So I met with a couple of them. You spoke with a couple of them, and then I made them come to the office. Yeah. And I think for me, the key was I didn't barely acknowledge them. Like, I said hello the day they were in the office, but I didn't really engage after that because I wanted to see how they engaged with my team and how my team engaged with them. Yeah. And at the end of that, every person on my team was like, no, we liked this person. Yeah. So to me, that spoke volumes. Because again, I'm like, I could get along with the person, but if they're not a good fit and the team is like going, I didn't like this, we weren't going to move forward. So I guess that would be tip number one is, are you setting a realistic expectation? 2, whose opinion matters? And for us, for me, it's you, Bethany's opinion matters, and also my team's opinion matters, and watching each other interact. So I guess for another office, I would say if you're looking at hiring an RDA and she's older than the rest of your team, because we see that a lot, and you're like, is this person going to integrate well? Are they going to seem like the mama hen when the team doesn't want that? Or is it vice versa? Do you have a bunch of older team members and now this young one comes in, and are they going to take her seriously? Are they not? Are they going to give him a hard time? Like, what's going to happen here? So to me, I guess that would be making sure we've got the opportunity for them to interact in some useful way.
And forcing some of that interaction. So if you've got a team that's more introverted and they're not going to naturally, if this person comes in for a working interview, or even if it's after they're hired and this new employee comes in, if your team's not naturally social, you might have to force some of that social interaction. So it could be that you set, on day one, you schedule a slightly longer lunch and you go, we have a welcome lunch to welcome our new employee. And then you've at least set the time aside. And then depending upon how introverted or awkward your team can be, and there's plenty of teams out there that they're just awkward individuals, that practice owner may have to come up with discussion questions.
May I even interject here too? I think the only thing that makes me go, did you do a welcome lunch for every other person before this person? Because then they're going to be like, why does this one get a lunch? So I think even before doing that, I would ask my team and say, hey guys, come here. We want to interview this one. And I'm very transparent with my thoughts with the team. I'm like, I really like this person because on paper, they have experience with this. I love the way she answered my questions when I was initially screening her. She really stood out. I think I'm concerned about will we be able to afford her? And I'm concerned because she doesn't seem super well versed in sedation, or she didn't know anything about laser dentistry, or whatever it is. So these are my pros and cons for her. I'm going to bring her in. I know you guys, historically y'all haven't, everybody's kind of quiet and nobody really asks too many questions, but I want to make sure that, there's only so many questions I can ask. You guys are the ones who have to get along with her. Yeah. How do you guys want to get to know her? Do you want me to bring in lunch? Do you want me to have her just sit at the front desk for an hour? Who's going to conduct the questions? Do we want to sit and come up with a list of questions ourselves first? And then that way, if they're all like, yeah, bring in lunch, we'll talk. Okay, y'all are good with that? Y'all are going to use that time to ask questions? Okay, then we'll call it a welcome lunch. Yeah. Because I would just be afraid of going, wait a minute, if the two hires prior were like, nobody gave me a welcome lunch.
It's so true. And it will come up. So to me, getting your team buy-in into that. And honestly, if they're super introverted, they may not say yes to that. They may go, oh gosh, let's not do that. Okay, what would be an alternative? What's another way for y'all? I want y'all to have a chance to really get to know her and help her be successful. That she's going to need you guys in this process. So incorporating them, and if it's not lunch, finding something that they're comfortable with where they can get to know this person, because that is the most awkward thing. It's like it would be the equivalent to showing up to somebody's house party that you were invited to, and they all know each other. They're all longtime BFF, and you didn't get to know this person until dental school. And so you know none of the high school and college buddies that are there, but she wanted you there at the house, and you show up alone. You know one person, but you don't know anybody else in that house. And then you're having to figure out how to talk.
And this is why I don't go.
Yeah.
I don't socialize. I'm too old for that nonsense. I'm like, I'm not going. This is too awkward. Not doing it.
But that's what our new employees are walking into. Like, they are walking into that environment. They know nobody. Or even if they've been into the office and chatted with people in the interview process, they still are walking into a group of people that are fully connected to one another, and they are not. And so I think establishing some time for this person to get to know the team is important.
So that also makes me think, and I think we've done this in the past, but it hadn't occurred to me recently, and maybe it would be a good idea for this secondary office, but maybe we do kind of connect people and say, here's your buddy. If you have a question, you're asking this, if you're doing that. So like,
that was going to be my third tip, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, very good.
You're on it. Because I think the hardest part is, first of all, you're stepping into a group of people you don't know, but you also don't know who do I go to? Like, who is my point person? So I really like when there's a buddy assigned from day one, and that buddy knows who they are. Like, they know that they're the buddy, and they know what their responsibilities are. Now, ideally, this is somebody in their position. So if you're bringing on a hygienist, it may be your current hygienist that's like the buddy for the week. Unless your hygienist is super introverted, really is going to make this super awkward, isn't going to seem available for that new hygienist, then don't pick that person. You can pick somebody else.
Okay, so 2 questions with that. Number 1, what if you only have one hygienist? And second, what if it's the opposite? What if the hygienist is like, here's another one coming on my turf. Mm-hmm. And you're like, I'm not going to pair them because she's going to set you up for failure.
Yep.
Part of me goes, then why do you have somebody like that on your team? Mm-hmm. But how can you get them to be more inviting and less threatened, I guess is the word?
Yes. Well, and to me that comes first from picking the right person. So, and again, you may only have 2 options on your team. It's either like evil or the lesser of 2 evils, and both are bad options. And so this may not be possible for people in that situation. But usually there's somebody that's like, she may not be a hygienist. It may be Sweet Sally at the front, but she is the sweetest pie, loves everybody, just oozes sweetness. And you're like, okay, great. She's going to be our buddy. And at least if she doesn't know the answer, she can navigate the team to get this person the right answer. So pick the right person, first of all. But then also, I think really making sure that buddy knows how valuable they are in the process of onboarding this team member. Letting them think about how awkward it's probably going to be for this new lady joining our team to integrate. We've got a tougher team. We're all kind of introverted, but you're going to help her feel welcome. So making sure they understand the value of that, and then also what specifically they're supposed to do. Because I think the buddy should have multiple times during the day for that first week or 2 that they're seeking out the person and going, how you doing? You need anything? Any questions? So multiple times a day, they're seeking the person out. And then for the new employee to know who their buddy is. Also, it doesn't have to be the same buddy. If there's multiple people on the team, you can transition the buddy each week. You can say, hey, your buddy this week is so-and-so. Next week, I'll tell you who it is. And then next week
I like that.
Because then she's getting to know individually team members in a different way.
That's a really good idea. Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah, I love the buddy system. So our subscribers actually have an onboarding document from November's digest. And we laid out a whole onboarding. It's week by week. There's a document that needs to be filled out, and it says on there who's the buddy for the week.
Which, and I know that document's more about like actually how to like task oriented, like how do you test and what they know, and how do you know whether it's time to add more to their plate or take away from their plate. So it's phenomenal. But I think for this, just from a culture standpoint, we just need to make sure we're also doing that. Like we're checking in on their progress as far as assimilating towards the actual technical aspects of the job. But I think also not forgetting the touchy-feely, making sure that we're integrating the right person.
Yes. So that was our third tip. The fourth one is what I would say you got to have scheduled touch base meetings. So 30, 60, 90 days. Because in those 30, 60, 90 day meetings, and I would like for there to either be a manager or a team lead or the doctor himself or herself in those meetings, that is the chance for the employee to share their feedback on how's it going. So also in that same onboarding document, it has the 30-day agenda, one-on-one agenda, 60-day, 90-day. But it is requesting her feedback or his feedback on how's it going, what can we do to support you better. A lot of times new employees, especially if they've got a lot of experience, they want to share their ideas. And it's just not quite the spot yet for that team member to share his or her ideas. And so those meetings become, we're soliciting your ideas in this controlled meeting. So I think that's the other component, is to give them an outlet for giving you feedback.
Okay, I feel like this is just the tip of the iceberg. I feel like I have a lot more questions for you about my own personal situation, but I think this is a good starting point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the important note is you spent all this time waiting for the right candidate. Don't blow it. Don't blow it. It's just like that honeymoon phase. I say this all the time when I'm sitting with practice owners. They're like, I don't know what happened. Like, she was so great. And I'm like, you were in the honeymoon phase. And then that wears off and you see what you actually have. And so we don't want there to be that aha moment, like you tricked me into,
either
working
way,
for you.
Into hire, you tricked me into hiring you, and then the other person's like, you tricked me. This is not the environment that I was expecting.
Yeah. But to me, if we put our work in that honeymoon phase and we're intentional about it, and we lay out really clear expectations and have good communication and incorporate them onto the team, fully integrated with the team members, it's a good investment.
Okay, can I give us a teaser then? Because I know what I want to talk about already next week.
Yes.
Because I want this to go into, okay, how do you know, it's what you just said, like at the honeymoon period, like how long is that? Is that 90, 60, whatever? I think me personally, I find our spot is kind of around 60-ish, where we're really kind of uncovering, whether this is the right fit or not. And then I feel like if we can get past it, that point, then the next is kind of like 12 to 15 months, where the person's like, oh, I've been here, I'm here. And then it's like you see just kind of a different side starts coming out. But so my question for you now, and I know we're run out of time now, so I'm teeing it up for next time we talk.
Okay.
I want to know, how do we know it's time to part ways? And like giving it enough time, because you don't want to just be like, oh, it's been 3 days, bye, get out of here. Or at month 5, are you like, have I been too lenient? Have I not? So anyway, can we talk about that next?
That's a good tee up for next week. Yep.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Thank you, ma'am.
All righty.
Thanks for joining the conversation today. We hope that you are comforted in knowing that you are not alone, but we also hope that you're walking away with some really great tips and tricks to try in your practice. We value your feedback, so please take a few moments to rate and review the podcast. Finally, we want to make sure that we're covering the topics that matter to you. So track us down on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and let us know what topics you want us to cover. As always, please know that we are rooting for you today as you manage your dental drama.